Yeah, g'day fellas. Yeah, just got a bit of spare time. Just finished finished the Google Hangouts a couple of hours ago now, and I've just been plodding around, catching up on people's YouTube videos. Yeah, just want to say thanks to Benny, uh, Benny McAttack. Yeah, just for that awesome shout out this morning. Yeah, absolute pleasure to meet you last night. So yeah, definitely. Um, if you end up watching this, Benny, yeah, wouldn't mind probably just doing a hangout. Probably we'll organise something just to pick a build subject, whether it's a car. Like I'll probably start building cars as we mentioned last night. When I sort of get rid of all my builds out of the way, my military builds, I'll start getting cracking onto the probably the Hilux that I've got from Ashima, or the Ford SVT F150 Lightning by Revell, 1 to 25. So yeah, they're probably the first two automotive kits that I've got, or cars anyway, not including the trucks. So yeah, but I'll get in contact anyway, and we'll talk about that. So hopefully we'll start doing yeah, some Aussie specials for everyone out there. But yeah, just getting back to it. Have been working on this, and just a lot of it's just been touch-up work. The wash that I put on there last night, it's now dried. I've actually done a few touch-ups, and I did notice that this part in here, I did leave out. I didn't actually paint it white, so I've had to go over that last night with a brush. Just basically, because it's already been painted, but I used a bit of the Tallery matte white to act as a primer, I guess you could say. And then once that dried, it dried really quick, probably just being a matte, and it was a watered down version of it, so it went on thin. So I didn't want to sort of fill up the recesses and all the detail work that's in here. Once that did dry, I put in some the Tallery gloss white. Instead of putting 2 coats of white on there and then having to put a gloss coat over it, or clear gloss, I basically just took the lazy way out of it and just used a gloss white over the matte white, and then that took the Citadel wash quite well. And yeah, did a bit of a clean up in there, and sort of gone through around just a bit of tidy up really, just with the normal brush. It wasn't a fine detail brush or anything. What do I use here? I can't remember what this is, but just a medium-sized brush, but just with thinned out paint, and just sort of cleaned up the edges here around the front landing gear bay doors. I've also, yeah, basically gone around again, just around the tops of the tails here, going over a bit of white, because some of the wash I didn't actually clean it all off the top here, so I've actually had to go over it with a bit of white again. And while I was doing that, just respraying the weapons that I had on last night's hang. I was actually talking to Marcus last night, and was discussing that the pin, what do you call it, the pin wash that I actually put in here was just way too heavy. So looking at a real missile, you're not going to have a real defined black line that's going between the fins here. So I've had to respray it all with what did I use? I just used just the Tamiya XF2 flat white here, just through the airbrush, and instead of I've actually hit it with just some Vallejo polyurethane gloss coat, and so I didn't hold. So instead of holding it, because I've already painted the tip white and tip black, and I was actually happy with the way that turned out. So instead of having to paint the whole missile again, I basically just used a cigarette filter on an alligator clip on a stick, and I've just pushed it in there, and that acts as a mask to protect the tip, and also holds a missile without scratching it, without having to put tapes or, you know, like just all the things that you have to go over it. So I've whacked that in there, sprayed that with clear gloss, so that should be all done. The wheels themselves have been done last night last night's live build. If you probably watched it, it's on my YouTube channel. It has been uploaded, and I used the cigarette filter just to as a dry brush to hit the flat surface on the top. I didn't want to go in the recesses, which is why I used the cigarette filter. There was a bit of I guess excess paint, and only very minute excess paint went on the tires. So I had to. I used just a bit of XF85 Tamiya's rubber black, which is a really nice color. It's basically a matte. If you've never used it, it's a matte, very dark grey. And to know and to sort of understand what I'm trying to say, go outside and look at the tires on your car, or if I've actually knocked this rating down to I haven't got the 18+ tag on it anymore, so and I haven't sent any invites out anywhere because it's I kind of get distracted, and it sort of takes away from the actual purpose of this video itself, which is the build. Which is I've got nothing against people joining. I mean, if you want to join, feel free to join. But and I've also got the question and answers box open. I've actually worked out how to open it successfully every time now, so that's open. So if you are watching, you can just pop me a question and I'll answer them the best I can for you. But getting back to what I was saying, a lot of people make the mistake of painting tires black, which is, I mean, it's all good and well if you put tire protectors or something on your car, but if you actually go outside and look at your mum and dad's car or even your own vehicle, they're not actually black. It's a really dark grey. So which is why I've started using XF85. If you don't have XF85, just mix up a dark grey with a tiny bit of black in it, and that'll bring the colour down to what you want. It's a really hard colour for me to get. Like, I can't just go into my hobby shop or in townie or to half an hour away to go and get it. So I've actually got to order it from, I think where I get it from, it comes from down south in Victoria, and it normally takes me about a week to get. So I've actually ordered a couple of bottles of it, and that's why it just sits there now. And I sort of use it quite sparingly. The landing gears have actually been I've actually done them last night. Oh, actually early this morning. Probably about 1 o'clock this morning. I actually painted these things. But on the last video that you actually seen, I just used a bit of Citadel's. Oh geez, where is it? Abaddon black. And it's because it is a thick. I've actually thinned it down a little bit. Just put a bit of Vallejo airbrush thinner in it, just to thin it. It's just a bit too thick for my liking, and it just builds up way too much. So I had to thin it down, and instead of thinning it out in the palette, as you can see here, just the palette I normally use. It's just covered in gunk, and it's one of those what do you call it? It's one of those special palettes I actually picked up from the art shop, which is really good. Like you can actually peel the acrylic paint off, where a lot of the palettes you've actually got to scrub it. So if you do need a bit of a space, just use your fingernail, and the acrylic paint just peels off. So which is why I don't really bother cleaning, because it just even warm soapy water will get rid of the acrylic paint off your palette. So the Abaddon black on there. Let that dry for maybe half an hour to an hour, and then I just went over it with a bit of what do you call it? The Model Air, Vallejo's Model Air Chrome, straight out of the last steel. Idiot. Yeah, that's the chrome there. 71064. This stuff here, it's a lot of people think that Model Air has to be used through an airbrush, but there's a tip that I've actually picked up from a lot of the miniature painters. Lester Bursley from Awesome Paint Job, or Paint a Nerd. I mean, these are all the guys that I was actually watching before I started making my own YouTube videos. And so, the metallics from the the Model Air range are excellent for brush painting. So if you're trying to source a good acrylic paint to brush paint, whether you're a miniature painter, or it doesn't really matter, anything, give these a try. Really, really nice to brush paint them because they're really, really thin, and they don't build up. Like, you don't really lose a lot of detail brush painting these. I mean, you can thin these out a little bit, just slightly, but there's really no need to. So all I've got left to do now is I've actually gone over again with the Citadel Bad Black acrylic wash, and I've just sort of thinned it out again, and I've just gone around just touching up bits and pieces that I've thought that needed a bit more going over. I've also, I think, if I get a chance this morning, what I'm going to do is here on the SU-34, the front landing gear blade, on the landing gear, you've actually got, I guess, their lights, like actual lights that light up on the real aircraft. But I think if I double check, let me go through it again. I haven't really gotten that far into the instructions as yet. So by the looks of it, parts 29 on the clear part sprue. So you have these two here. They're the actual light lenses that you glue onto here. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint that black, and then I'm going to hit it. I haven't really decided what metallic I'm going to use yet. It's either going to be the Vallejo Model Air Chrome, or I'm probably just going to use some All-Clads, and I'm just going to basically just brush it on there, just drop it in there so it sits in there, and then let all that dry, and then I'll seal it up with a bit of probably some kind of clear coat, and then I'll dab a bit of wood glue in there, and then or I might even not even use that lens altogether. I haven't really gotten that far yet. I don't really plan my builds from start to finish prior to building it, so I'm a bit of a random builder. It's just it's just sort of I may not even end up using these. I don't really plan on I'm going to use this. It changes. If it could be 5 minutes time to finish the model and I decide to do something else to it. I may even use if I can find it quickly. Here it is. I may even use the Testors Clear Parts cement. It's a window maker, so I may even, once I've put all the metallics down, let all that dry, I might just with a toothpick or something, put a bit on the palette, and I'll just put a couple of drops in there, and then I'll set it up right like that to dry, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, that actually works out, because looking at the clear parts here, they look kind of chunky, and then knowing my luck, I'll cut it and it'll come flying off and ping, and I'll lose it, and then I'm not going to find a clear part that size on the floor. So that's probably what I'll end up doing. This the window here, I'm going to do a test run later on today. I'm going to cut a bit of the sprue off because I want to remove this paint on here. I'm just completely just not happy with the way that the black turned out on the canopy. Also, I'm going through my reference material here. I hope you can see this. I hope there's not too much glare on it. There's your canopy there, and I'm sort of picking different different sort of things off each aircraft. So I'm not actually going to build this aircraft exactly the way. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not actually going to build this aircraft exactly the way that it is in this picture. You can see, on my one, the tail booms I've actually painted white, and so there's a lot of different variants. I got that white idea off Google Images. One of the reference photos I've actually downloaded onto my computer, and you can see the color's completely different. That's more of a grey, where on another aircraft I was looking at had a white on top of the tail, and on another aircraft I was looking at, it had this was going off Google Images, reference photos, that the whole surrounding, or the raised areas on the cockpit was all black. And the more I look at it, the more I'm starting to not like it. So going back to this is probably what I'll end up doing, is I'll end up stripping all this off, and like I was saying before, I'm going to do a test run because I've never done it before. I've done it with Games Workshop miniatures, but I've never tried it with this type of stock, or this type of plastic, especially on a clear part. So I'm just going to get some window cleaner, and I'm going to just soak it, and hopefully I can strip all the paint off it. And that's why I want to test it, whether the acrylic, it'll damage acrylic. If not, I'm just going to get a bit of isopropanol in a container, and I'm just going to soak it. It might take me, because it is a polyurethane, it might take maybe an hour or so. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll take an hour to strip it back, and then theoretically the isopropanol will just evaporate, wipe it down clean, and I can start fresh again. So that's that idea. But you see that the front bits, from the front here all the way to the first, I guess, support for the cockpit there is black. So I'll show you. Let's lay this down here. Get rid of this plane so you've got half an idea what I'm trying to talk about. There it is there. So, brush out. So this will all be black from the front to this first support here, and then everything behind it, including the top, this top run here, all the way back, is going to be one of these blues. Because you see that colour is a greeny. It's a real greeny colour. I think it's like an emerald jade or something. But the only guys that I know that kind of make it is ACAN, and I can't get it here unless I order it online. And really, like, seriously, I just really couldn't be bothered waiting a week or whatever it takes for it to get here. Plus, I want to pay postage and all the other stuff that comes with ordering online. So I'll probably end up, and I think, if I believe, I think it's got to match that. So basically, it's got to match all that color, that camo scheme in there. And it was, what color was it? I think it was that XF8 flat blue from Tamiya. So it's just a really nice dark. It's almost like a cobalt blue. So I'll end up doing that. What else is there? Yeah, so all these, so pretty much all the missiles have been repainted. But because I couldn't actually hold the front, I've actually got to quickly brush paint the front here, and then actually it doesn't look too bad. So I might just put a thin, very thin down white in there just to dull down that black. If I just whip it in there. So I might just dull down those recess lines in there. And what I'm about to do as well, actually why I started this live build this morning, is last night's video I did mention that, because I haven't actually painted all the landing gear bay doors, and also I haven't painted whatever the hell that is. I'll show you where that goes. It actually sits in front of the front tires on the landing gear. So I mean, I'm not even going to attempt to give it a name, because I just honestly don't know what it is. So I think it's just some kind of protect the front tires, or I don't know. But yeah, that's got to be painted. So I've got to go through all the typical Tamiya. It's not just one color. You've got to mix. One is black, and then 23 they're saying here is light blue. But then, yeah, none of the colors that I've used on this is what the color callouts are saying on this instruction sheet here. It's pretty much going to a picture, and this is pretty much how I done it. Which one was it? It was one of these. I think it was this picture here. close enough to it. Yeah, I basically just got the colours and I just sort of, you know, just by eye next to the picture. So I think it was, this one was fairly close to that dark blue that you see there, which is why. So it's not, it worked out okay. Like, I'm still pretty happy with it. I mean, like, for a rivet counter, he's going to say, oh, you know, but they're not the right colours, and you know, you should have used this colour. And, like, to me, it doesn't really, I don't really care. It's, I mean, and a lot of you guys should think that way as well. It's your model. I mean, and a lot of guys will say, you know, it's your model, you forked out the money for it, it's your time that you're putting into the kit, and it's going to be on your shelf or in your cabinet or wherever you're putting it. And so, yeah, like, you've got to be happy at the end of the day of how it's turned out. I mean, if you're not happy with your model, you know, that's probably the biggest thing. You've got to be happy. If you're not happy with it, you know, what's the point in displaying it? Because you know yourself that you haven't painted it the way you wanted it to. I mean, if you want to paint the bloody thing pink with a orange racing stripe down the middle of it, and then you're happy with it at the end of the day because that's the way you wanted to paint, I mean, by all means, guys, you know, don't let that stop you. So we'll give that a few. I've only put that wash on there maybe about half an hour ago, so I think I'm just going to excuse me, I think I'm just going to give that maybe a little bit more time to dry before I sort of start sort of touching that area. And I've actually got the matte white. Well, I did have it. Where'd you go? There's a gloss white. Okay, one of my bottles of paint's gone walkabout. Okay, here we go. So I've just got this matte white here, and that's what I'm going to brush in here, because I don't need to be glossy, because I'm not going to okay, once again, we've got terrible lighting, so I'll spin it upside down. Hopefully the light will hit it this way. So you can see in there, like in last night's video, there's a bit of overspray in here, which is the blue. You can see it there. If I just get it in shot for you there. So it should be like a nice even arc that goes around. So you can see it's all like, you know, just randomly all over the place up here. So I've got to clean that up this morning. So I'll be doing that. So actually I might do that now, just get that out and done with. That way that can dry while I cut these things out and clean them up with the sanding sticks. Oh, and the last thing before I go, not before I go, because I'm not going anywhere for a while. One thing I have done this morning while I was on the Google Plus Hangouts to all the boys, I think it was on this morning that I joined. I joined pretty late because I had a bit of a sleep in. I think Mike Cullen was on there, Paul from ISM, Sebastian Dutch Modelling, Wes was on there, I think Richard was on there. Geez, there's so many of them on there this morning. James DeVal was on there, and he, yeah, because I did join late, and it was really late over there in the UK, so it wasn't on the Hangouts for very long at all this morning. So, but yeah, getting back to this is okay. Like I keep saying, I'm not an aircraft expert, so I'm just going to call it a missile. I don't know what type of missile this thing is. But some of the photos, these things are grey. Some of these photos that I have are white. But in this particular picture that I've got in that reference book I've got over there, there's actually an orange missile, which I thought it's going to stand out. It's going to be a huge colour contrast with the subject itself, and I just painted it black. So I've just sort of masked it up lightly with a low-tack masking tape and sprayed it with the Tamiya black. Oops. And then the butt of the missile, I just hand painted the, because I wasn't going to muck around trying to mask it all up. And I mean, it was easy just to get the Citadel Abaddon black out and just thin it out slightly, apply it with a couple of layers, and just paint the back black. And also just the four tips here, so done the same here. It's already been pre-washed and everything, so if you've been following these series of videos, you have seen that it just has been done for a while. It's just been trying to get my mojo back, trying to finish it off, because, yeah, like I said in the last video, I broke the missile rack off, and been trying to look for it on my lounge room floor for the last week, and I finally just gave up and scratch built it. So now that we're sort of back on track again, we can keep going. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this Tailory matte white. If I get rid of all these old cotton tips off my thing, throw in the bin, because I use them for cleaning my airbrush. Just bear with me while I sort of dig around, trying to get rid of, clean up my sort of palette a bit. Alright. So what I'm going to do is going to make some space. I am a messy modeler. I don't have a pristine modeling, clean model bench like Paul from ISM. If you've seen his bench, it's immaculate. But, I mean, the ants could eat off it. That's how clean it is. So I'm just going to give this a shape. And hang on. I'm just being told by someone. Okay. So just bear with me, guys. I'm just going to adjust some settings on my computer for a second. Bang. Good on you, Wes. Good on you, mate. Yeah, so yeah, a friend of mine from the UK has just been a real cheeky little bugger. So bit of a mess. So if you ever spill paint on your mat, what it is just a bit of thinners. This is the homebrew stuff that I've made up myself. It's basically isopropanol. If you haven't seen the video, there is a video on the channel. Isopropanol, water, and it's a bit of Flow-Aid, like Liquitex Flow-Aid in there, and just a bit of retarder in there as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's clean. Alright, so we're just going to put a drop in the palette. Not too much, because I don't need much at all. And I'm going to thin it out just slightly. So, get rid of that brush of things, I don't need that. And I'm just going to get this junk off, because it's starting to warm up a bit. It might be winter in Australia, but, you know, for you guys in the UK, it'd be like the summer. So it's still pretty warm. Alright, so what I'm going to do, carefully thin it out a bit. Put the water in. I'll just zoom it out a bit, just slightly, guys. So just bear with me for a minute. Bang. Okay. This lighting is really bad. I do apologise. So if you guys are new to modelling, and that's why I guess I'm going to start dropping, removing the 18+ tags on these live builds, because yeah, I don't see the point. Yeah, because I do want a lot of the younger modelers out there to watch. Like I don't want people to miss out, because there's a lot of things that I want to show to, especially the new modelers, and then all these tips and things that I missed out on when I was first starting out, which is why I made so many mistakes on a lot of my kits growing up. So I guess just to be fair to everybody, I guess I'm just going to knock the age limit down. So just nice thin paint. So when the paint's thin, you're not going to leave any streaks like it would if it was thick. It's going to be self-leveling as well because it's so thin. I may have to put a separate application on here. But being, well, at the moment it's 70 degrees, but it's actually pretty warm. So I've got all the lights on above me. There's computer monitors on. There's a big LCD screen behind me. So yeah, the actual room itself is quite warm, so it really shouldn't take that long for the paint to dry. And speaking, that paint there is pretty much dry, almost just on the bottom. So I'll just clean off the excess down here, get rid of the pooling. So you can see that's getting a lot whiter. It's not so, but I will sort of tone it down a bit later on. What I'm thinking about doing is I might actually use, because I've never tried it, this is going to be something new that I'm going to try, so it's either going to work or it's going to fail. I'm just going to try using some of this UMP concrete clay-based wash, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it, once this matte coat's dried, I'm actually going to put the wash onto a matte surface so it actually bites into the paint surface itself. I don't want it to run off as if I put a clear gloss over there. I actually want it to bite into the surface. So what I'm trying to explain is if you look at, just bear with me, I'll get a pen so I can sort of demonstrate. Just get a crappy old piece of paper, put an airbrush on. I'll get this and put the model aside. So what happens is, when you spray your model with a clear surface or with a gloss coat, and why they say to spray a gloss surface on your miniature or your model before you put your decals on or before you put a pin wash on, what the gloss surface actually does is it puts a nice flat surface. Well, that's okay. It puts a nice flat surface on your model, so your decal can actually sit on a flat surface. Now, if you were to use a matte varnish or just apply it straight onto a matte surface, if you put if you can magnify the surface and then look at it, the matte paint, because of it hasn't got the gloss in it, it's more of a surface like that where the pigments just sit there and there's nothing filling in the gap. So which is why a lot of people ask, why am I getting clouding? Why when I put a decal on my model the washes are going underneath and ruining the model, or and why is it so hard to clean washes off my model because I haven't glossed it? So what happens if you look at it? So if you look at the one with the G is the gloss surface, the one with the M is a matte surface. So on a matte surface, the wash will actually sit in all these little divots here, which is why it's so hard and why a lot of modelers find it really hard to remove the wash out of the surface. So yeah, and this is what I wanted to do this time. I want the wash to actually sit in there. So when I try and remove it, I'm still going to get the wash, basically stuck and binded into the surface. So I want that even, grimy, dirty look. If you look at where it is, it's where the jet intakes are. So while the gear bay doors are down, you're going to get a lot of air getting sucked in, a lot of air moving through there, and you're going to get dirt, grime, not so much grease, but it's not going to be like an exact clean surface unless it's going to be show aircraft, and then the crew's actually going to get into it and clean this thing from top to bottom, inside out. So hopefully that's given it enough time to dry, so I can put another layer on it. So, and if I do rant on a bit, guys, like I'm just basically I'm trying to explain everything as clearly as I can, so everyone out there does understand why we do these things. And if you do have questions as well, I mean, I do have the questions and answers box open. So whether you're watching this via YouTube or you're watching this via the Google, just watching the live stream through Google Plus, feel free to type in a question, anything that you're curious about, and I'll do my absolute best to answer it for you. And if not, if I can't answer it, it'd just be a matter of spinning around. And I've got a lot of people at the moment on the Facebook Facebook Hangout chat going off. But that's what you hear in the background, just those little beeps. It's just all these, basically all my modelling friends around the world talking to each other. So if you're not part of that, yeah, I can always ask for you and find out. Maybe a couple of matter of seconds before I can get back to you. So, yeah. So I'm just trying very carefully not to dip the brush in some more water. So I want this thing. Yeah, just trying very carefully not to get any paint on the blue itself. So I'm just trying to stay on the inside. I mean, there's a little bit of overrun there, but it's just simple because it is such thin down paint. You just rub off with your finger, and it just comes off. So that's the white there, and that's the white on the other side. But even through the camera, I can see that it needs a bit of going over again. So I'll just go over it a bit more. Okay. Just gonna check some of you guys. Okay, so no, I was just checking more messages on my Google Plus. It's during the live hangouts, a lot of builds, yeah, things going off, so I just want to make sure I don't miss anyone's questions or. So I'm just going to clean it down. And I'm going to give this a couple of minutes. I want this paint to dry really well because this UMP, it's a water-based wash, and it's basically just, it's like water, putting water on a model. So I want this white to completely dry before I continue. So what I'm going to do while that's drying, and I'll probably be jumping back and forward between there. So while I'm sort of waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to blow some time here. Just going to get some of these parts cut out. So just getting some clippers. I'm just going to start removing some of these parts for paint, but I'm not going to cut, making sure they're sturdy enough. Because I want to paint the inside and outside, so I'm just going to leave them on the sprue just as is, so I can paint them like that. And then once they've all been painted, it's just a simple, carefully, just cutting the ends off, and just touching it up with a paintbrush. So there'll be no biggies at all. Okay, so I'm just going through the instructions. Just going to bear with me for a second. That's at 34. Okay, so there for the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this entire area. I'm just going to clean all this excess off. Carefully, because I don't want these to break off. That one's already broken, so cut that off there. Let's cut that off there as well. So bin. Bin what I don't need, so I want on the bench. See that. Keep that nose probe separate. Maybe hand painted last, or I'm looking at that. That's pretty flimsy, so I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with that yet. That's sort of up in the air. Whether I'm going to use it, or I'm going to scratch build something out of more of a durable material. So it's not that big at all. So I'll just put that to the side. There you go. I'll just keep cutting off all this. Okay. Oops. Luckily, that wasn't a part. That was just a bit of some excess sprue. Where's it? Oops, I'll cut that off as well. So basically, I'm just trying to make it easy for myself. Trying to work out what I can, or where I can, and where I can't cut, because I don't want to. That's going to be change from clippers. Just going to use some fingernail cutters. There are pliers out there. You get tweezers. I've seen them before. Mike Cohen on one of the hangouts, he was showing us a pair of clippers that he bought, and basically they're more like tweezers what he had, but they are clippers. I'm not saying they're not clippers. There's like a tweezer style clippers, and what they're meant for is when you cutting through, they're kind of shaped like a claw like that. So the actual tweezers, if I get my hands here, picture the tweezers, they squeeze like that. But they weren't that big. This is just a magnified version of it. So basically, they're open like that, and when you squeeze down, they clamp down and cut. So not like your standard size clippers where you're cutting flat up against the surface. They were more like this. Which is why I bought them. I think I paid about $2 from the dollar store from these. So you can see the difference between these, the Citadel clippers, and they're no different from any other clippers that you might buy in the hobby shop. They're just a bigger version. Hang on, if I get these in shot for you. Yeah, they're just a bigger version, like longer and bigger. So no, I'm not saying there's a bit better or anything, just bigger. But knock over all my paints. Brilliant work, awesome. And then you look at these ones here, they're not that flat, they're actually pointed up, and so you're not actually cutting hard against the surface, you're cutting right at the point here. So which makes them, I get to show you. There you go. That's the cutting surface there. If I open up, close them, so they get right up in there. And this is what I'm going to do here, because I don't want to break or cut away anything that I sort of need on here. So just carefully, like really carefully, and holding the part, cutting it. Just okay. Just checking there's gone. Same thing again. Try to spin around so I can show you. Carefully. Just slowly applying pressure until it cuts. Alright. Just making sure that's away from there. And once it's free, you can just cut that off, chuck it in the bin. I think I'll do the same with this one as well. Whoa, careful, clean. Right. So it's down there. I'm just going to have a quick look around, making sure. And it is going to need a little slight sand. So I'm just going to grab a black sanding stick, and I'm just going to grab the grey one as well. The grey one's like a are really fine before you start getting down into your polishing sticks. So I'm just going to use the grey one, the black one to start off with, and just real lightly. I'm just going to just clean it up a bit. Like, I'm not going to do the whole thing. Just rub your fingers around it, just making sure that it's all nice. So this will just take a couple of moments. So just bear with me. Some there. And you don't have to be too, like, you don't have to sand the hell out of it. You just got to, as long as you just take off the imperfections that are on the edge of the plastic, and then once you're happy that you've taken enough off. And also in here as well, you can see there's ejector pin marks. Okay, you can see, hopefully you can see them. Be back, there you go. So you can see now there's ejector pin mark there and there, and the same on the other piece. Because this is going to be the landing gear bay doors are going to be open, I'm going to have to sand these out. Otherwise, yeah, because it's just gonna, I know they're going to be there, so they're going to have to be removed somehow. So, so I'm just going to get in there with the sand. The sanders. Just sand this out. Yeah, so for a 1:72 scale kit, I mean, this thing has incredible detail. If I ever do go back, well, the next time I do go back down to Brisbane, and hopefully at the Queensland Model Hobbies Expo that I'll be going to in a couple of weeks, with Betty McAttack. And if they do have, I'm going to keep my eyes out for an actual 1:48 scale size version of this. So far, I haven't seen one. I think there is one that is made that I found on eBay, but I didn't like the look of it. It looked really, it was a cheap manufacturer, or not, without taking anything away from them. It wasn't up there like it, as in within detail and quality. So I was pretty disappointed because it was the only 1:48 scale version of the SU-34 that I have found. So if I can find enough, I'm just going to keep hunting around for one. Like, one day there's going to be one, and then if Edward even think about bringing out one, I'm going to be jumping right onto it. To have one of these with all the photo etch stuff on it, I think, yeah, it's just going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. So keep your eyes out for future videos, because there may be one as soon as it comes on the market and I've got the cash floating around for it. I'll definitely be getting it. So what I'm going to do, this one's being a bit stubborn. I'm just going to grab just a mold line removal tool. Pick one of these up. Here's one of the Citadel's new mold line removal tools. Very, very handy to have. I mean, you pay a bit for it, but if you're wondering, that's how it comes in the box. So it's very, very well packaged. It just came in a box like that, so it's not just floating around getting damaged. And I've actually, being in Australia, like, this actually set me back 18 Australian dollars. So I thought it was a little bit steep, but you know, it's not like you're paying $40 or anything for it. So I thought $18 was fairly reasonable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the tip. You can see the tip's rounded. stick the thumb behind it and get it in shot. Get some light onto it. You can see that the tip's round and it's not sharp. Like I'm not going to stab a hole in my thumb. Like it's got a sort of a semi-sharp edge onto it, but you're not going to cut yourself. I mean, don't recommend giving it to like your 5-year-old son to play Gordon Ramsay with it and start chopping up your steaks with it. No, definitely. But yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to zoom in a bit more. Hopefully this isn't the best camera in the world. Zoom in a bit more. Hang on, just give me a bit. Okay, hopefully this works. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use very around the tip of this. I'm actually just going to scratch around in here. Now, the beauty with this tool is you're not going to leave scratches, like recessed scratch marks like you would if you're using a hobby knife. And because it is a round tip, it actually fits quite well in all the round sort of surfaces that are inside. It's actually working quite well. And it's just a simple matter of just rubbing back and forwards. So you can pretty much see, let's get a little bit more going here. So now you can see that's pretty much gone. It's just going to need light. It's just going to need a light sanding. Get it back in the light again. So it's just going to need a bit of a light sanding. I was actually going to put some, if I couldn't get rid of it, I was actually going to put some putty in there and then just sort of build it up a bit and then sand it back that way. But it's all good. Didn't have to do it, so I'm pretty happy about that. So now it's going to go over a little bit. Needs a little bit more in here, I think. So a couple of little goes at it. Alright, so that's gone. And I'm just going to clean it up in here. And I'm going to switch down to my grey thinning stick. And same on the inside here as well. Just being careful you don't break these off, because I do want these still connected to the screw gates, because I do want to use them as to hold these up while I paint it, because I can paint two at once instead of trying to paint one individually. So just using the tip, just in a round circular motion, I'm just trying to smooth out the surface. Nearly done. Right. Jeez. Alright, so these are going to be two. Alright, so an issue here, guys. Got ejector pin marks on both of these. Okay. You can see them in there. And they stick out like dog's bollocks. So what I'm going to have to do, I don't want to flatten the surface, because if I try and sand them out, all this raised stuff here is going to disappear. So what I'm going to do, before I can attempt to sand it, I'm going to sand it all off later, so this will be something. What I've got here is just some Mod modeling paste. And you pick this up from the craft shop. or your art supply store. And what it is, it's basically it says fantastic for creating texture, build up by adding layers once paste is dry. Dry as white and may be overpainted with acrylic or oil paints. Small objects may be embedded into the paste, clean up with water. So yeah, it's more like sculpting, adding layers up. So if you're a miniature painter, these are great for doing like Warhammer bases and even just dioramas. You can build up your base itself, and you can see how thick that is. Like I can, tip that upside down, and it doesn't run or anything. It's a really thick paste. It's thicker than house paint. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to get an old brush that doesn't really matter. That I can sort of rough it up a bit. Well, please, I'm not going to use a really nice fine detail brush. So just got that many brushes in this container here. I'm just going to find one that's suitable. So yeah, this one. How big is that? Yeah, that'll do. So what I'm going to do is just wet it down a bit. Always wet your brushes down before you use them, just to loosen up the bristles a bit. So, sure, this one here is fine. Okay, so put those to the side. I should really cut these out as well. I might as well do that one here. Just cut these out quickly. So, go back to these other clippers. That's pretty much set for that. So I might do the same thing here, but it has got the similar type of ray or the paddle in there. So sand that back. I'm going to flatten that out, so I don't want that. Basically, I just need to fill in the ejector pin marks in here. So what I'm going to do, and I wish this camera is in full HD. But if I try and record it on my JVC camcorder, it's probably going to be like a 40, 50 gig video. And that'll just take me forever to upload. So I thought that's why I do these Google Plus live builds. So what I'm going to do, just a little bit in brush. You can always build this up. So with anything, don't feel that you need to slap like heaps and heaps in there. You can put a fair bit in there, but you don't need to just put so much in there that you're building a mountain. Here. It does set back nicely. This way, the third or fourth time that I've actually used this on a kit, and I only just bought this for purely experimentation. So I was using the liquid green stuff from Citadel, and I've used all sorts of putties. I've even used the Tamiya putty. And I found that that's too aggressive on the plastic. I just started eating the plastic. So I've sort of stopped using that. This is actually quite styrene friendly. It's just an acrylic paint, very thick acrylic paint paste. So all I've done, you can go again later. So just little small dots in there. So you can see what I've done is I've just put that just over the ejector pin marks. So I'm just going to let that dry. And I'm going to keep going with the other four. So same deal again. And you probably will have to go over it again, which is why I'm sort of like, as I'm plopping it down, pulling it up so it's like a little drop. So it looks like, I don't know how you explain that, icing on a cake maybe. If it picks up a little, so this camera focus, just give it a few minutes. Not a few minutes, we have a few minutes to it. That's not going to work. Sorry about that. Oh, there you go. Just make it out that it sticks up. So that's going to settle down a little bit. So when I do sand it back, it's going to yeah, just sand down the surface so it's flat. Hopefully, fingers crossed. That's what I'm trying to achieve. I'll just keep going. And once I do this, we can get back into trying to put this UMP cement or concrete wash down. This is the first time I'm actually going to be using it, so it's all new for me. If it's new for you, it's new for me. Alright, so a bit more in there. Way too much. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that was $11 from the dollar store, and that's just for comparison. That's a Citadel pot paint, and for $11 you get all that. You know, you did actually use it on the SU-34. I think it was on this edge here. There's a big join where the two halves went together. You know, I just gave it an application of this modelling paste in there, sanded it back, and you can't even see the join in there. So I was really, yeah, and that's why I started using this. I was really happy with it. That turned out for the price I paid. So instead of going out forking, I think that James Workshop, this stuff here is what I normally use, or what I was using, if I can get it out. I was using this, just the liquid green stuff, and it's just a liquefied version of the actual green stuff that you get, but instead of mixing the yellow and blue parts together, and then having to like muck around trying to gap fill your models and trying to thin it out with what they recommend thinning it out with, which I can't remember. It's been that long since I've used it. The liquid green stuff, you can just thin it out with water. And then what I was noticing is when you try and sand it off, like sand the green stuff off your model, it was actually coming off. I was actually peeling off, which is a real pain. So yeah, I just tried to find an alternative, and this is what I've come up with. So until something else better comes along, I'll be using this in a lot of my builds. So yeah, it's just modeling paste. If you know someone who's got some, I mean, surely if you went around there and just say, look, can I have a tiny little container or something, just, you know, fill up half a little pot and then take it home and try it. I mean, you'll be very surprised on how it actually works. And I was a bit hesitant to begin with when I first bought it. I was like, well, you know, I'm either going to waste my money here or something's good's going to come out of it. So I'm just going to put these aside to dry. These will take a little bit to dry. Alright, so getting back to the SU. Put some of these, just push some of the stuff to the side. I've got about 10 pots of paint sitting on my desk at the moment. Grab some of these tools. Righto, so I've got any clean ones in here. Nope, dirty. And I'm not going to use these because I've had the brown. The UMP stuff, it's very easily reactivated with water, so what I've got here is just a couple of, you know, some little trays that I got when I used to work in hospitality. They're just old finger foods. I think they have like some kind of cocktail food in there. So yeah, so every time I put things on the tray, I just kept them, washed them, took them home. Boss thought I was weird, but it's better than forking out money from. But anyway, So I'm just going to give this a shake, making sure all the pigment is well mixed through the medium, because it does settle pretty quick. Okay, so we're just going to get our all my things seem to be going walkabout this morning. I sort of use something that just disappears real quickly, so what is it there? Nope. This stupid little brush bag. Okay, this is it. That's not it. There. That's it there. So I'm going to spin this over. Actually, I'm going to paint it up because I don't want the wash going deep in the aircraft. I'm just going to put out enough, just enough to what I need. That it's probably about 5 or 6 drops in there. And that way, it's not wasted if I don't use it. So just going to give this a little stir. And then getting closer for you. How's that? Okay, so I'm just going to apply it just in here. So I just want that, like I still want the white to show through, which is why I didn't go up for a really light grey paint. I want the stuff kind of, I guess I just wanted to tone down the white a bit without it being grey, so I could have used an off-white, but so it'd have to be neat. Like it's not like paint where you get a real even coat over it. I'm sure I get the light on there, you can see it. Yeah, it's really hard to see because the grey itself is, I can show you there, that's the grey there, it's sort of light grey. I would say it's slightly darker than if you've got the Vallejo polyurethane, the grey primer. It's a little bit darker than that, not by much. It's still a very light grey, but so we're just going to do that, let that dry. And that didn't take long at all. So put that back to the side, let that dry some more. Just get this brush out. Now I'm about to try something new again. I'm going to use this UMP wash on these missiles. So I want them in the recesses, like in here. Yeah, I'm just going to quickly put it in and see what it looks like. And if I don't like the look of it, I can quickly just, I can do it later. If I don't like the look of it, I can just get a brush with some water on it and just scrub it off. It just comes off with the water. So that's the bonus about this stuff. You can't really make a mistake using this. I wish I had this stuff 10 years ago. Okay, so yeah. You just ground the tip here, it doesn't matter. Put on as much as you like. When you start taking it off, you can take off as much as you like too. I mean, you can take the whole lot off if you want. If you don't like the way it looks, yeah, it all comes off. So don't fear that if you've never used it before. Don't fear that you've made a mistake, or then you can't make a mistake with this. And this is a good way to practice too if you've never used an enamel enamel washes before, and this is a pretty good way to get you into it. But it's very, very forgiving. So, same here again. Shot, sorry guys. So basically, just flooding it on the front here. Okay, so same to the back. Just going to flood it in here. But I'm not doing the actual fins themselves, like up here. It doesn't matter if you get it on there, like that's. You can just slap it on in there, just so it sinks into the creases, the recesses back here. Put these down here. I'm just making sure. I'm going to need some more as well. So far, I'm pretty happy with the way it looks, so I'm just going to give this another shake. I'm just going to make a bit more here. If it also drops, I think we'll do it. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 more to do. I'm not doing the entire missile, just there's no need. Just going to do the back half. Back half here. What I'm going to do, I'm actually going to lay them down horizontally. So if I put the point back in the stick, I put the stick back in the foam. It's pretty hard to put the stick back in the stick. Yeah, put the stick back in the foam. The wash is just going to go, she's just going to run down and just, what's the word I'm looking for? She's going to dry very unevenly. It's just not going to look right, so just going to lay them inside there like that. I'm going to do the other one, it's the same one, so I'm going to repeat the process. So brush on. Yeah, I'm just painting it over the tray too, because I am putting on that thick. You know what I mean? Just so if I do spill any or any flick any, it's not going to go on the cutting mat. It's just going to get flicked straight back into the tub here. You can just spin it around too if you're kind of lazy to paint around. Just do a little flick. Take some excess off. And if you think a little bit too much on there, you can take it off. And you can always put more on later. Don't stress about that either. Okay. Last two. And I'll probably need to, actually I might just take them off. They can take it off now. A little bit. Five on there. Just from the polyurethane clear coat, I stuck a bit to the filter there. But it doesn't matter. Actually, what I can do, I've got some excess sticky tape here, so if I lay it down, there's my hood knife. Cut it in half. Like so. And I'll do the same with the other one. Get rid of those. Just put a bit tape around here. Get rid of these filters off the end. Okay, I'll just throw away about 100 more of those. I'm just going to reclamp them sideways. Just put the tape on here to protect the paint job, because the alligator clips themselves on metal with decent jaws on them, so definitely going to scratch the paint off when I use the tape. So getting back to it, slappy with the wash. Okay. And this will probably need probably about half an hour to 20 minutes to dry. Depends, all depends, but yeah, that's average. If you don't put this wash on too heavily, and you've got mass pooling on your model, it dries fairly quick. So I'm just going to keep rotating it just to make sure that it's all sort of even. I do want kind of an even shape in all the recesses on this thing. So I'll just make it back in the foam board and do this one. Yeah, a very busy weekend of modelling coming up. I'm not too sure. I think we're talking with the boys this morning on ISM, and that's pretty much one reason why I wasn't actually going to jump on Hangouts this morning. I was just going to sleep in this morning, have a really good sleep in, just to catch up on some sleep. Had a massive week at work, and I was basically just jumped on board just to find out what time. As most of you know, there's going to be a special event this weekend on the Google Plus Hangouts. So if you follow either myself, I'm not too sure if I didn't ask him. I'm not too sure if Mike Cullen's going to be on this, or even I think Stefan is going to be on there. Swedish modeler, and he's definitely going to be there. I think Wesley's going to be on there, but there's going to be a few. Well, it's only meant to be, well, as you know, Google Hangouts can only take 10 people at a time. So there's going to be, at this stage, there's going to be more than 10 that want to participate. So and I'll get to actually what we're doing in a minute. Dutch modelling, Sebastian, we were actually talking about this morning, is going to hold one group, and Paul from ISM, as you know, Paul, he does all the reviews and he's got all the video builds and other things like that. He's going to hold a group as well, and then they're going to try. I think we're going to try and do something, or they're going to try and do something that not many. I don't think it's been attempted before, or as far as I know, in the modelling community, it's probably been attempted in other places. But as for the modelling community goes, we're going to try and have the two groups linked up via, so one of them's going to have a camera, but I may even have to log on with my mobile phone just to see the other group, just log on to Sebastian's YouTube channel and watch, so that way we can all talk to each other or hear what each other's saying. But what it's going to be a 2-hour build, and I've pretty much got the rules explained to me this morning. It can be either 1 to 72. It's going to be happening tomorrow. So, as most of you guys know, I'm in Australia. So if you're in the UK, you're minus 9 hours for my time. But in UK, if you are in the UK and you are watching, it's they're going to start. They're talking about starting at around about 8 o'clock. Starting to hang around about 8 p.m. UK time. I think it's 8 or 7. Might even be 7. So it's like 4 a.m. or something for me. Just to get so everyone can get ready, set up. You know, like otherwise it's going to be, you know, if you start hanging out straight away, it's going to be bang. You know, nothing's going to be ready. You know, you've got to have a bit of time to go through instructions and get all your paint sorted. And, well, I'm going to have to get my heat gun plugged in, ready to go. So I've only got 2 hours, and I want. And 2 hours is not very long to build a model, even 1 to 72. It's got to be completely built. So it's going to be no airbrushes. You can use primer, but you've got to brush paint it on. You can use any paint you want. So you can use enamels, you can use acrylics, but it's got to be brush painted. There's no airbrushes allowed. There's no masking, so no masking tape allowed. And it's got to be so if you want to clear coat your model, you can't use a spray can. It's got to be old school. So you got to look at it like as if you're a kid. When you first started modeling, you didn't have the luxury of an airbrush. You didn't have the luxury of masking tape because you didn't know anything about it. You've got to paint everything by hand. So that's going to be the tricky thing. It's got to be so you got to prime it, paint it, gloss coat it, decal it, and it has to be weathered. And all this has to be done in 2 hours. So once you've weathered it, and then you've got to seal it all in again. So yeah, it's going to put me to the test because it's something I've never done before. And I'm hoping, depending on how successful it is, and how many viewers we get, and how what the response is from all our subscribers, and seriously, we would all love to hear your comments, even during if you're watching via YouTube, or because we can't fit everyone in there. Like there's only so many that can participate, so which is a real shame. And it would be nice to have like a mass 2-hour group build. But there's no prizes, guys. It's all in for fun. And so I'm really excited about it. So yeah, like I said, for all the subscribers who follow myself, or if you follow Paul, or if you're just in it just to see it, I mean, yeah, definitely want to hear your. Oops, that wasn't shut properly. Sort of doing all over my hands. Yeah, so definitely want to hear your feedback, guys. I really want to know whether you liked it, whether there was a fail, we never should do it again. If there's any other things you want to see, definitely let us know what you guys think. So I'm just going to put a little bit more. There's only a couple of drops. I've only got like 1, 2. We've got 1, 2. 2 more to do. How much have we got here? We've got enough here to do, I think. So, cat back on. So this grey is drying really light, so I might give it another hit. That's still wet, so oops. How's that? I didn't even spill. I'm lucky enough. Yeah, so I'm just going to go over it again. Just give it another. Make sure it's. So I'm just going to grab it in there. So Wes is obviously watching in the background. Now, Wes, I can't even pronounce your bloody YouTube name. Broken, what? Liana? Whatever the hell that is. Yeah, he's definitely watching because he's being a smart ass behind the scenes. I think he's either modeling or he's just sitting back playing with his new headphones that he got. Very proud man to have his new headphones. As happy as a one-legged les on a pogo stick. That's how happy he is. So happy for you, Wes. I'm glad you like your new headphones, mate. But yeah. So I'm just going to go over these a bit more. Give another hit. Just making sure that it. You see how heavy I'm washing this. I mean, you'd never apply paint this thick. So I'm just trying to work out, looking at the colour, what else I could be using this for. This would be nice on black. If you want to go opposite contrasts, this would be really nice. It's really nice, and it is a light grey, so. But to be honest, I've never really had much use for a grey wash, even though I've got the Tamiya accent panel line colour, the grey one, and I've never opened it. I've never used it. Maybe, I guess, if you're painting white, if you've got white Warhammer minis, I guess if you're painting winter camo schemes, camouflage schemes on your armour, even helicopters, you got white aircraft to paint, yeah, then this would be really great. Great colour to use, but other than that, I don't really paint a lot of white. So I think I'm going to have this stuff in my stash for the next 30 years, if I live that long. There's. So that's it there. Just look at these other two that I've done earlier. I reckon one more hit, one little coat, and I think we should be ready, pretty much right to yeah, start looking at taking it off, cleaning it up. And this is only going to be subtle, so I mean, don't expect a real dramatic contrast between the white and the grey. I just want it, because the black that I did have on there, it was just ridiculously way too dark. It was just, yeah, it was just wrong. So for that very reason, I opted to respray over it this morning during the hangouts and let that dry. So re-glossed it with the latest polyurethane gloss varnish, and then yeah, it's just so I can put this grey wash on there, this concrete wash. So I think so we're just gonna let this dry. I think if I get over it too much, and then I think I'm just gonna do overkill. But yeah, I think that's definitely enough. So when you think it's enough, stop. So that's done. Is it done? These, I'm going to try, hang on a second, try and work something out here. Enough of mask. Right, I'm going to try something here. Might as well do it. I keep putting it off because it's something I hate doing, is masking. What I'm going to do, I'll just make sure this is clean. So. Some tape here. Make sure it's straight. Just stick it anyway. As long as it's straight to the lines. Okay. More. You can see that there's stuff stuck to the tape underneath it on the board, so we don't need that. So how thick is mine going to be? Get rid of, so we'll just a bit of excess. I'm not going to need all this tape I've got here. It's about 35 mils, 35 by 40 mils, so which is way too much because I only need not even 10 mils worth, I don't think. Actually, I may do because there's 3 of them. That's right. So just to give me some space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 6. We need a little bit more, I think. Straight edge. Using the cutting mat as a guide. Just cut some off. So what I'm doing here, so you've got an idea what I'm doing. On these bombs here, you see the shaded parts. You should see the shaded parts here, and it's asking for X7. X7 is a red. So what I'm going to have to do is mask it off. So there's going to be 2 red lines or 2 red stripes that wrap around the entire bomb. One there and one there. So I'm going to have to mask them off, but as most of you know, red is a very, very difficult colour to paint onto black. It'll just be a really, really dark red. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to put the tape on, and then I'm going to have to prime it with a white, or I might even just use because it's already, I don't really need to prime, it's already been primed and base coated in black. So what I might do is I might just base coat or pre-coat the red with Tamiya's XF2 flat white, just so the red's got more pop over the black. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, try it one day. You just paint a scrap piece of plastic card or anything black, and then try to paint. And it's the same with red. I mean, not so red. Same with yellow. You try and paint the red or the yellow over black, and yeah, it is. Red's just one of those colours that doesn't like to be, or that's really hard to paint to get the first coat on. It normally takes 2 to 3 coats to get that red popping over the black. But if you underlay the red with white or the yellow, underlay the red or the yellow with white. The model or the colour itself will pop out more, which is why you'll hear a lot of the guys that paint the Warhammer stuff. There's a lot of steps to paint your minis. So like if you paint Space Marines, I'm going to use Space Marines as a prime example. If you're painting, if you've got a dark model, say you're painting Black Templars or something like that, obviously because they're black, you're going to put base coat on black. So if you've got things like White Scars or what else is on there? I'm not really familiar with the Warhammer stuff, but you got a lot of the Space Marines that their armor's yellow. You're not going to paint over black base coat because you're just not going to see it. So yeah, always base coat. If you've got bright colours that you want to pop, base coat in white or even a light grey. If you want your colours to be dark, or you want to have a dark shade to it, then by all means base coat it black. So that's what I'm trying to get at. So I'm just going to get back to this. Use this as a reference. And then starts me how I'm going to get this on there. I'll do the back one first. So what we're going to do, I've just cut out heaps of strips there. There's 4 strips there, and I'm going to have excess, but they're just ready to go. And all I've done is I've used and I've just cut them as the widths. So like I think, I'm not even sure what size they reckon they're 10 mil, I think. Yeah, so they're 10 mil squares. So I've cut them into 5 mil strips. So that way I've got a bit of excess room. So when it comes to airbrushing, I'm not trying to get that really fiddly with the airbrush, trying to get in there, because I've only got a thin strip to put on there. So, so this is going to be a bit fiddly. And be careful not to stab yourself in your hand like I always did. Just checking that it's straight, which it isn't. You're a pain in the ass. Come on. So this is going to take a bit. So if you guys have masked before, you know how fiddly this can be. I need my tweezers. Still not straight. Just trying to hide the overlay there, so when I do spray it, it have like this weird looking. And how thick these lines are going to be, I have no idea. So I'm just going to guess. But maybe I shouldn't. Just roll here. I'm going to make it. There you go. Perfect. So these are 2 mil. 2 mils. Hang on. 1, 2. Yep. So I'm going to make these about 3, 2. So about 2 mils thick. Let me hold that up here. Pencil. mark where 2 nails would be. And then I'm just going to put this tape on here. And it's not, like I'm not stressing that it has to be exactly 2 mils all the way around, but I'm going to get it close enough. So it's, there's one. So just give it a rub just to make sure that the tape's on there nice and good. So that's one. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to achieve over all of them. But you got to make sure that with the tape on, especially pay really good close attention to the inside where you're going to put the paint, because if you don't have that snug, what's going to happen is when you start painting with an airbrush, the air is going to hit the model and it's going to spread under the tape. You're going to get bleeding through underneath the tape. So I mean, just take your time with this. There's no need to rush. So I'm just going to keep going. So I'm just going to keep going with the rest of them. Make sure I get the 2 mils. Find that mark where you put it. Take down straight as you can. I'm only just doing this by eye too, so as long as when you get around to the other side, that lines up. So, another one. So 1, 2, 2, 4, 2, 4. So we're exactly enough. Let's see this one. Oops. I'll do the same. So now that you sort of know how I'm doing it, I'm just going to rip through the rest of them without sort of. And I really wish I could speed the footage up. Is it like build? So might do that one down the bottom as well. Just so it's done. The stripes are going pretty much where it tapers off. So from where it's very cylindrical in the middle of the bomb, and then when it starts tapering off either to the nose or to the tail fins, is where you want to put that tape, or where it's asking you to put that tape. It's not even straight, so turn the tape the other way around. Another 2 mil line. Okay, so what I'm thinking about doing as well, I've got I've sort of got two paints in mind what I'm actually going to use for this. I'm either going to use the Reaper HD paints, which is a high pigment miniature paint. It's more for miniature painting, but you can airbrush it over the white base, or just for pure ease, I'm going to use the Tamiya. I think is it sitting out here? I'm not sure if I've got it out or not. Nope. Yeah, I'm just going to use some of this Tamiya XF7 flat red, so you can see why I put. That's a prime example. I put the fishing weights in the bottom of the bottle. You see it's separation between the medium and the pigment. And trying to use Tamiya paints. Trying to get them out of the glass pots that they come in. You just make an awful mess. Trying to stir the thing. Yeah, it's just there's just so many more cons leaving them in the standard Tamiya pots and putting them into dropper bottles. I mean, yeah, these for some funny reason, like you might get your Vallejos and your Reapers, they dry up and the nozzles block up, and you've got to normally just either put a bit of paper clip down there, or just pierce the tips just to unblock them. But yeah, the Tamiya stuff doesn't seem to block up the nozzles. I think it's because of the liquid medium here. I don't know why, but it's I don't have troubles with blockages. So I mean, that's another video definitely to check out if you haven't watched it. Is how I actually make the Tamiya paints in the dropper bottles. So, and ever since doing that, I found myself using the Tamiya paints more and more and more, just because of the pure fact that it's so much more easy to use nowadays than it was back then when I just had them all in the dropper bottles. I mean, I've still got them in the paint pots, like for backup paint. Like they're just there ready to go, but like they're more or less, when say this one runs out, it's a simple matter of popping the top, putting the paint in there, putting it in a thinner, mixing it up, and away you go again. So I'm just going to do the bottom one. So just going to do the bottom. If that's the last one, this is the last one. Yep. So what we're going to do, once I've put all the stripes on here, I'm just going to get some masking tape that's a little bit wider, and just going to wrap it around the tail. I'm going to put a bit around the nose, and I'm going to put a bit around the middle, just so when I'm painting, I just want to protect everything. So, and once I get that done, it's going to be pretty quick. So that's 2 mils. And we've got a third viewer. I mean, g'day. Hope your night or morning, wherever you're watching, is going good. Just so you have a rough idea. It's 2:30 in the afternoon over here, where I am. But yeah, if you want to leave a comment or something, feel free. Ask a question. I don't mind. And we're back to 2. I hope it's not boring you. It's got to be done. Like it's I hate masking and I hate painting fiddly little things like this. But it's all the little details like this that you put into it, which I guess makes your model just that little bit more impressive. And if this kit did come with decals to put on here for the bombs, yeah, I would have done this anyway. I wouldn't have used the decals, especially on a black surface. I just wouldn't have seen it. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some 3M tape. It's a house painting tape. So basically, it's tape that you put on your walls if you don't want to rip paint off or whatever. So you're masking your walls up with newspaper or whatever you're using. So what we've got here, so how do we do this? We need 1, 2, 3, 6, 9. Alright, so we need 1, 2, 3, 6. One, two, three. It's not going to hurt, got plenty of it. Okay, so just out of, make it out. 1. Let's start off with here. If I need more, so I'll just cut more out. So just going to half. Nearly done, guys. So all I'm pretty much doing now is I'm just putting tape on here just to protect the rest of it from overspray. And this doesn't really want to cooperate. Yeah. So just keep going. That's the first one done. Oh, no, it's not. Why? So we do the middle jet. So none of these bits of tape are exactly measured. It's just a little rough. You say in Australia, she'll be right, mate. Alright, so keep going. Ooh. Doesn't look good. So just wrap around there. So there. It's a lot of work just to paint 2 stripes. This is all the stuff that you sort of miss out on when people do videos, and even myself, like I'm guilty for it. I mean, not everyone wants to sit down for an hour seeing someone, you know, mask up whatever they're masking up. But if you've never seen it before and you're always curious about it, this is why I'm doing it too. It's like, seriously, at the moment, I just don't have the time to sit down and edit a video. Or, you know, or you do something, you go, oh, I wish I recorded that, or I wish I had that. Doing it this way, I've got everything documented, I guess. And And you can always skip forward to, like, once I've finished the hangout, once I've finished this live build and it gets uploaded to a YouTube channel, I mean, as long as you sort of can do it. I think on a mobile phone it's probably a bit harder, it takes a bit longer. But if you're on a computer, you can just simply skip forward. It just doesn't take long at all. Just jump forward to what you want to watch. So just double check the thickness. Yeah. I mean, it would have been easy just to paint this whole thing black. I mean, whole thing red, and then just to put 2 thin strips of tape around there, and then paint the thing black. But I guess I didn't think about it while I was doing it. So, like I said earlier at the very start of the video, like, I don't really plan. I don't really have a plan of attack when I'm painting things. I sort of, I love building models. I love this hobby, and it doesn't really bother me how long it takes me. It's just all the fun that's involved and mucking around and being fiddly. So that's why I do it. So doing it this way, taking 3 times as long to do something, when it could have taken me 5 minutes. And now it's taking me, what, half an hour, 45 minutes. I'm not too sure. Doesn't bother me one bit. I'm pretty patient when it comes to things like this. So what I'm going to do now, what you want to do is just give it a good rub, making sure that the tape is like just nicely snug down on that paint job. So I'm just giving it a rub with my fingers, just rolling it around. Just being careful that if you do have fragile parts under there, just not to touch those areas. Ooh, the coffee's still awesome. It's probably freezing cold. Okay, so so getting back to it. So once you've done that, what I'm going to do now is clean up the rest of this tape. I don't want this on the bench. Just carefully pick it with your hobby knife. Make sure you don't stab yourself in the hand. That would suck. Okay, so that's clean. I'm going to double check all these, making sure that these are right. So that's silver, that's black. Okay. Red. So these are going to be, so the colour that I've actually chosen for these bombs are going to be really, they're going to stick out. So, what am I doing? Organise my bench a bit better. Hang on a sec, guys. So I know what the heck I'm doing. And I figured while I'm actually can't do that just yet. But before I prime these, I'm just going to jump back to these bay doors here. And I'm going to see how this primer's dried on here. If I can sand them back, which I think I can. Just carefully hold it. Okay, so these are sandable. I'm just going to get my airbrush near it. So I've got something to hold on to it. Just going to sand them. Broken off, so we do it the old-fashioned way. Checking messages. And I think once I get all these sanded back, once I get all these primed, I mean we've almost finished the build. Like we're just coming to the very end of it. I've only got a couple more things to paint and assemble and glue on there. Once, because the wheels are done, the landing gears are done, the missiles are just about done. I've only got about another maybe two or three decals to put on this kit. Yeah, and then we're pretty much finished. So if I sort of get stuck into it today, and then sort of got a few things to do later this afternoon. So I've got a 2:45 now. So probably gonna go another hour or so, 2, 3, another couple of hours of this, and then I'm gonna have to bail. And end this live build. We've got stuff to do, as everyone does, has normal things to do. And depending how much time I get tonight, I'll even just do a few things off camera, just so I can speed it up a bit. And everything else I can just glue together. So yeah, I want to get all this stuff painted. But I'll try and get most of this painted up anyway in the next couple of hours. So we should get some kind of footage of it. I'm just going to send all this back. And this what do you call it? No, molding paste. It's not even peeling off the plastic, off the styrene. She's holding, which is what I want. And she hasn't. There's only a little bit of shrinkage, like, so you've got to expect the moisture that's in in the modeling paste, that's going to evaporate. So you're going to get a tiny bit of shrinkage on here. So, which is why I normally put just that little bit more on there. I'm not pumping it on there, like, so we're just flooding and everything, all the detail disappears, and just, yeah, probably a little bit more than usual. I'm trying to think if I can cut that off. That's at 37, 35. I better leave them on there just in case. Well, so this is probably the fiddliest bit here. And this one here, this is the one that had an ejector pin mark sticking out. There was a lot of flash on the ejector pin mark. So I'm just going to send it back. Hopefully you can see it. That one. So that's that. Alright. So I think we're going to prime it. Once it's primed, I'm going to cut them off the sprue, and then I'll put these on alligator clips, and then I'm going to paint them according to what colour is required. So on the inside of the landing gear bay doors, I'm looking for crap, I do that. Did it. Except 2, which is a white. So made well. There's the question answered. Where is it? White primer. So I'm just going to use some of this stuff here. Going to use my Sparmax SP350. It's got a 0.2 needle inside it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this crappy old cup here. Get some. I'm just going to spray some thinners through the airbrush first, just to make sure there's no gunk in there. Spray it out. Just shake, so I'm going to use this in a couple of weeks. Shake. Make sure we've got a couple of fishing sinkers in there. really scratch around the bottom, loosens up any of the paint that's settled to the bottom of the bottle. Give it a shake. Make sure you flip around the bottom so you want the balls and that to move around the bottom there. Pick up any paint around the edges, especially in the corners of the bottle too. That's where a lot of it sits. Okay, so carefully open it. A few drops in there. 1, 2, 3. So we've got that much in the bottom of the cup. Now, actually, before I spray, this will only take me a quick second. I figured while I'm priming, I might as well do this as well. So, look. Oops. Just trying to get rid of any flash that's on here. Excess. Okay. Let's give it a bit of smooth. Done. So we prime this, the white lines. I'll do the white lines last. Prime this, and this. So we'll do this. I think these ones carefully. These are alligator clips. Just give them a little test wiggle. Make sure they're not going to come flying off and disappear in the abyss. Same with this one. This one. Making sure. Okay, so they're not going anywhere. So I've got these on a couple of holes now. Alright. Alright. Just got a bit of cardboard here. So I can protect the surface of the bench. Just a spray pattern. Just to like masticate to begin with. That way, let it dry. It will dry quick. What it does is you're giving the rest of the primer something to grip onto. You put just one heavy coat on there. Oops, I didn't even send that back. I'll put that to the side. That's not what I forgot to do. Just do like misty coat. So this bit, I'm just going to squeeze that tape in again just to make sure that it's all snug. I'm just going to assume that while it's been sitting there, it's lifted a little bit, because it would really suck if it I got paint bleed through the tape after all that work we just done. So I'm just going to very lightly rub strokes. I'm just trying to seal up that gap between the tape and the paint first. Like I said before, just a light coat, let that settle for a bit. To the side for a minute. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly get this sanding stick here. I'm just going to sand it back. So you can see that the polyurethane, the primer itself, is actually peeling when you sort of rub over it. It doesn't scratch, it peels, which is why always, if you're going to sand, like this is, it's okay now because this is just a I'm just quickly sanding it back and we'll re-prime it again. But if you have to or if you prime your model and you see imperfections in the work, let the thing dry overnight, at least overnight, before you try and sand it back. Because you want, because polyurethane, it's basically a plastic layer, and you want that to fully dry and cure before you attempt to sand it back. Because if you don't, the surface or the paint itself hasn't hardened, and you're just peeling it off like this. She hasn't bitten, the paint hasn't bitten down on the plastic and ripped yet. So yeah, if you have done it, prime it and just leave it, build something else. Or before you go to bed, you got to go to work the next day, just prime it at night, go to work, and then come home, and then by the time you come home, it should really be going. So got all this cleaned up, so we're going to spray it with a blast, clean out the nozzle a bit. Same on the side. A little light misty spray. Now I'm just going to go over everything else that we've done. Give it a decent coat this time. And this is all you'll need to give it. This is all primer is. It's just some as a surface just for your paint to stick to. The rest of your paint. A couple more drops to get in that shape. Whoop. And it went everywhere. So, go this again because the airbrush cut ran out of paint. So I'm just going to just doing quick passes over the stripes. Not full air pressure, I'm just sort of maybe half on the trigger. But I'm spinning, spinning this bomb around in my fingertips here, just rotating it. Okay, so you can see that's a lot wider than the rest of them. Just comparison, I'll lay them down next to each other. So you can do the last two. But what I was saying before about letting the primer completely cure before you start sanding it, that's not the case when you want to paint over it. I find that if you're airbrushing it, you can generally just paint over it within a few minutes. But if you're brush painting over it, and then I recommend letting it dry a little bit longer, because what you're actually doing, you're actually touching the surface with a paintbrush or whatever. So you're manipulating the surface. Now, if it's still wet, you're going to rub it off, or you're going to mix the paints together. So you definitely don't want pink stripes on this one. Certainly, if you're airbrushing, all you're doing is just the paint's just sitting on top of the primer, so it's dry enough without it being fully cured. If it's dry enough, like dry, yeah, you'll be able to paint over it, no worries at all. Well, I haven't had that problem yet, so I've been painting like that for a long time with this polyurethane stuff. So. Alright, so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go over this, have a look. Just making sure that everything's got white on it. Righto. So we're just going to let this dry for a few minutes. Just going to spray some airbrush thinner through the airbrush, clean it out a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to clean out, get rid of this white primer out of the cup. But because that primer has been sitting in the cup for a while, I'm just going to tip this straight out. I'm only going to attempt to pump it through the airbrush, because if there's any loose bits of paint, it's going to block up the nozzle, which I don't want. So I want to clean that airbrush in the middle of It was a light build, so I'm just going to get some of this Airbrush Clean from below, just a 50-50 dose. Water and just plain old water and airbrush thinner. I'm just going to backwash it a bit. But yeah. I generally just get a Q-tip soaked in airbrush thinner or whatever, and just carefully jam it in the front. Make sure it's wet though. You can normally just clean out the needle cap quite easily. And I haven't bent any needles yet, so as long as you're just careful with it, not using excessive force where you're trying to push the cotton tip on there, just gently. Get all the paint out of there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some of this paint. Here's a mix. Hopefully it gets in there for a while. You can, the ball will eventually loosen itself. Yeah, was it? Just got a message from Roadhog. Just says, just wondering what primer you're using, and if it's a water-based or acrylic-based, and what you use to clean the airbrush after you use it. Yeah, it's just the Vallejo polyurethane primer. It is. I'm pretty sure. No. Shake roll. I'm pretty sure it's water-based. Like, it's not a lacquer-based primer or anything, but I just use. I normally just flush it out with the airbrush thinner, just to soften the paint up, and then also I just use the Vallejo airbrush cleaner. But because it's pretty hard for me to get over here, or I've got to drive. Well, it is pretty hard for me to get over here. Like, in the hobby shops, they only sell them in those small bottles. Where is it? And that's how I used to get it in the hobby shop. Where is it? Forget some camera there. Just a little bottle there. It's 85 ml, and yeah, you just go through it like no tomorrow. So I just order these online now, and I just mix it with 50-50 with water. Just to save a bit of money, and realistically I'm just cleaning out. And if it gets really stubborn, I've got a bottle of just neat airbrush cleaner here that I use to clean it out with. Windex works as well. Just normal Windex or Windlean, whatever you guys call it, over in the States or in the UK. I'm pretty sure we're in the States, Roadhog, so yeah, I think it's Windex. Yeah, that's pretty much what I use, buddy. So the stripes are dry now. This is going to be an absolute peg to get out of the airbrush. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with the blue first. So I don't really want pink. Yeah, pink outsides. It sounds a bit wrong, doesn't it? I don't want pink panels. There you go. So I'm just going to have a look around on the plane. So I don't want a dark blue surface on a light blue surface. So, like, for example, I'm not going to paint this dark blue because here it's light blue. So pretty much everywhere is going to be this light blue on the bottom. So safe to say that if I go with, I think it was this colour we used. What colour was it? Yeah. So I'm going to go with Reaper Winter. Is it Winter Blue? Let me double check. Yep, that's what I used. So I'm going to go with the Reaper HD series winter blue. So I'm just going to give it a good shake. And then, I'm going to use the Vallejo airbrush thinner. It's pretty universal. Like you can thins out a lot of time. The only thing it doesn't like is the Tamiya paints. Actually, I better not. This stuff's pretty thin to begin with, isn't it? So you can spray it out. Because this Reaper paint's pretty thin to begin with. So I'm just going to put a bit in there. Back over. Shake. Just get the thing on the cap, make sure holding it tight, give it a good shake. Squeeze really tight, like a squeegee, and just pull back. You can generally get a lot of paint off your finger without making a huge mess. Just give it a little wipe down. Just giving a quick spray, making sure it comes out alright. And she does. Hallelujah. We're just going to do, you're going to leave the insides white, you're going to do the outside. So if you don't want any paint on the inside, just be careful of the spray pattern or where you point the airbrush. You basically want the air to flow away from the white. So that's probably the easiest way to explain it. So, and so you get paint on that side. You get paint on that side. If you spin her over, she's still white and not a speck of blue on it. So it saves masking up and all sorts of things. So always quick passes, constantly keeping the airbrush moving side to side. Same here. There. Making sure it's spraying the right side. I'll just break a bit more thinner in here. And one drop or so. 2, 3. That'll do. Bubble it up. Okay. Just going to double check on this piece here. I can actually know what colour it's meant to be, so just bear with me. 1 and 23. 23 is light blue. 1. So it'd be safe to say that I can go yeehaw. Whoops. Carefully put it down. Just going to quickly go over the rest, like all over it again. Just doing a nice light coat. Just want to make sure that it's got good coverage. So that's done. I'm just going to spray out this airbrush. I've just got just a crappy old cup, and yeah, it's just what I use to spray with a bit of cotton wool at the top. It's pretty much what I use to yeah, but I've just got another question from Roadhog. Use a lot of craft acrylic paint. Now it's starting to do a few planes now, and there's a bit more masking. And I was trying to figure out what paint to use. I was thinking to me acrylics, or do I have a better choice I should try? Honestly, Roadhog, if use what you're comfortable using. A lot of people are saying go for the new AK interactive paints. Like seriously, like if you don't want to blow heaps of money on a full new set of paints, like I've used acrylic, I've used Tamiya paints, and a lot of the paints I've used on this plane are Tamiya. Vallejo, like I use a bit of everything, mate. It's at the end of the day, yeah, you've got to be comfortable what you're using and what's available to you. You know, like if you can only get Tamiya paints in your local area, you know, or they're cheap, or you know, you're sort of working to a budget. There's no real paint that I'm not going to say, you know, Tamiya is better than this or Life Color is better than that. It's what you feel comfortable using, mate. And that's probably all I can really say. I mean, like I really like using Tamiya paints. As long as you thin them out, they spray really nicely. If you want that nice finish, which I used to have a huge problem back in the day when I first started using Tamiya paints, and I mean any of the viewers out there too, if you're watching, if you've and I've said it many times even on the Hangouts, it's to get a nice good, or Tamiya paints, I'll start again, Tamiya paints dry very quickly, as most of you know. Like it's spray it on within a minute, it's dry, you know. And you'll sometimes get that what's called like chalking, the powdery effect, where it looks like you've just painted a blackboard surface on your model. And to overcome that, I normally add in all my bottles, whenever I do a new bottle, like just like chuck in a dropper bottle. Well, there's a camera there, not the computer screen, idiot. I'd normally add maybe 2 or 3 drops of this just acrylic paint retarder, and it's like cheap as chips. I mean, I paid $4 Australian for it, and you don't need much of this at all. Just a couple of drops, and just give your paint a good shake. And what happens is the paint doesn't dry mid-air, like coming out of the airbrush, because it's constantly being hit, like, you know, abused by air attacking the surface. And by slowing that process down, it's going to hit the model wet, and it's going to settle a bit more and become more flat, and then you get that nice finish. So that's another trick. If you wanted to use Tamiya's, that's something I recommend doing. Yeah, like that's pretty much all I can say, Roadhog. So I hope that helps. I really do. What have you used? You've used so I'm just gonna get some of this Airbrush Clean. And once again, just gonna cotton tip. Just gonna swish it around. Because we do wash a airbrush out with a like a lot of people, and I do it sometimes. I'm not saying I'm very guilty of it. Every now and then I'll use this brush if the paint's stubborn. I've got an old crappy old brush there, and she's been flogged out, so you wouldn't paint a miniature with it, just dry brushing. The actual metal on the side can actually scratch the inside of your paint cup, and sometimes that makes it hard. And if you've got a very expensive airbrush, if you forked out a lot of money for your airbrush and you want to look after it, stop from being scratched and that, yeah, a cotton tip is more gentle on there. But the only problem with the Q-tip is you can't get it. If I, hang on, just bear with me, I'll just dump all this out in the cup. And if I show you inside, I know, I'm pretty sure Wes is watching too, so it could be Hendry, it could be any of them, but I do. And so if you look inside, if I spread this out now, if you look inside your airbrush cup, you generally got that needle. That, oh God, you can't even see inside it. Okay. No. Sorry guys, but yeah, but inside, if you look inside an airbrush cup, you got that needle that goes through, and it goes down even deeper. And that's the only problem with a Q-tip, is it won't actually get down around the needle and around all that. So I mean, if you've got to use a paintbrush, then yeah, just be sort of careful with how hard you scrub in there. If you scrub too hard, yeah, you will scratch it. And it's not a good thing. So really, that's my main trick. Just be careful getting there, because this paint dry pretty quick. What am I doing with it? Now that I've changed paints, I'm going from Reba to Tamiya. What I generally like to do is I'm just going to put a bit of Tamiya X20A3 here, like not much. You can still see there's a bit of blue through there, so I'm going to spread all out, so I don't want any blue coming out. This is my little airbrush thing that I've made myself. Through, might just paint out of it. And I generally find as well, thoroughly cleaning your airbrush out in between colours, your tendency to getting blockages, it drops dramatically. I rarely have blockages just because, yeah, I'm generally spraying with a clean airbrush. If you sort of like give it one quick flush or and then start spraying again, there's a pretty good chance that that paint that you used previously will dry. And plus also I'm using 2 different brands of paint, so which is why I'm going to clean it out pretty good. So I'm going back to a red. So I'm just going to check the spray, make sure the red comes out, not too much blue, so all the blue's out of it. So quick passes on here. Okay, you can see what I was talking about before, spraying that white down. If I was to spray this red over black, there is no chance or no way in the world that it would come out as bright as that. It'd be almost like a whole red or a maroon, and then the paint itself would just be, you'd have a really thick band over your ordnance, and yeah, it just looked funny. So I'm just going to spray enough. This video only needs one coat. decent head anyway. Have to rush a bit. Still got more in the cup. So, just going to paint. I can take another 2 drops, 2 or 3 drops. Going back to the very first one I've done, I'm just going to give it a quick going over, just in case I have missed any parts on it. So take a couple more drops in here. And this paint's pretty thin too. So if you're watching Red Hog, it's what is this one? 15mm pot. It'll be, yeah, this is only leftover paint that I had. That's what's in a small pot. If I buy a brand new, like a full pot, it'll generally go into a 30mm dropper bottle. But this is like a 20, I think it is, or 15, 20mm. I'll generally thin it out for airbrushing. 2 parts thinners to 1 part paint. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. Then just with a tiny bit of acrylic paint retarder in there. Just thinking about your comment as well. Okay, I've actually started using a craft acrylic paint myself. I don't know what brands you get over there. We've got the Atelier, and yeah, don't confuse it with Atelier. This one, yeah, the actual hobby paint itself. Atelier, which is a brand that I can pick up in my local arts and crafts store, and it's a decent acrylic paint. So, but it's a carbon black. And I've got the burnt umber as well, and basically these spray through an airbrush quite well. You've just got to thin them out a bit. And I just use my own homebrew that I've made up, my acrylic thinner that I've made up, and that just thins it out. And I basically use it for pre-shading my aircraft and things. So if you've got your if you've still got your acrylic paints, mate, don't throw them out. Like, it's the paint, like, to me, everything has a purpose for like, you're not going to use, like, I've tried spraying this just on a test miniature. I had like an old World War II German soldier that it just sits on my shelf just to try out new products and see how paints bind or things like that. Excuse me. So I found that the paint rubbed off quite easily, but once I sealed it, it wasn't too bad. So yeah, like, I don't know what your acrylic paints are like. I mean, they're probably better than what I'm using here. This is just, yeah, just artist free flow artist acrylic, and yeah, so it's basically for like pre-shading all my desert armor, and then the start of the video of this one, or the very first build, I actually pre-shaded this SU-34 with the carbon black, and it worked out really well. So so there's no good paints and there's no bad paints. It's all, like I keep, and I'm going to keep saying it till the day I die. Just use what works for you, and if you're comfortable using it, use it. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise, that you've got to throw your paints out and use these paints. So just your model kits, mate. It's your time, and it's your hobby. Just don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So that's pretty much the band's all done. A quick checky check. Put the pin strap there. Alright, so that's done. That's done. Done. Pretty much that's I can't really do anything else. I've got to go out. I've got to go out in a minute anyway and do some stuff. I might sit on here for a little bit more. But what's next, I think, is what do I do next? Well, I think I've got to cut these off. Cut them off the sprue. Or I might. The rest of it. I've definitely got to wash all these with some Citadel wash just to match the inside. So I'm gonna have to give that a gloss. I'll get a semi-gloss. I've got a semi-gloss made up. Never actually went out and bought like Vallejo's semi-gloss clear varnish. But I just wherever I put the scumbag, where that. I've just got a box of like all sorts of random stuff, all my clears and all the stuff I've decanted out of bigger bottles. I've got to find it. But what I do have laying around, this might be back here. Yep, there it is. It's always away. Just mixed up in a dropper bottle. It's a 50-50 mix of the matte varnish, the Vallejo matte varnish, and the show you. Yeah, so it's just a polyurethane matte varnish that comes in a little tub like that, and the gloss, which is, I think this is it. Is it? Yep. Which is that, and it's just a 50-50, like just split. Just whatever the size of the bottle is, just straight up the middle. Half of that, and the other half, just fill it up, and then I think, yeah, and it actually gives a really nice. And I'm really happy with it. Like it's, I sprayed my. If you follow my links on the ISM Facebook page, or even my Facebook page, Outback Mini Models on Facebook. There are actually photos of the Revell 1-35 Panther D that I built, and I actually sprayed the final coat of the tank of the hull itself with this, and it's a really nice finish. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. So so you don't have to go out and spend so many dollars on a full bottle of semi-gloss. You can make it yourself at home as long as the two paints are compatible. Yeah, there's no dramas there at all. 28. Join that in there. I'm still airbrushing. I'm scared. I'm screwed up. That's why I use acrylic paint. So cleaning the airbrush is what I'm not sure about. Just trying to work out. Yeah, it is daunting. It's as long as some people won't, and this is directed at Roadhog 0822's question or his reply, and I'll read it out. It says helps a ton, and what you're doing was it. What I was going to ask you next, because I'm still new to airbrushing and I'm scared that I'm going to screw it up, and that's why I use acrylic paint. So cleaning the airbrush is what I am not sure about. Using enamel paints and using acrylics, it's pretty much no difference, as long as you don't get you gotta think it's a tool. It's a tool that you've paid a fair bit of money for, obviously. And whether you've spent $20, one of those Chinese $20 ones, or you go out and buy like a Harder & Steinbeck or whatever, as long as you clean them up regularly, and I'm pretty anal with it too, which is why I'm always constantly spraying it out. There's nothing worse than not cleaning your gun out properly, and you just get a major blockage in your airbrush, and you've got to strip the thing. It's like I hate it. It's like stripping the airbrush is probably the worst job you could possibly have while in the hobby. Another tip is Roadhog. Every now and then, and I'm about to show you. What you can do is you undo your airbrush and the back cap, and you just carefully pull this needle out. Okay, and even though you spray, like you're cleaning your gun all the time, you're still going to get these little small bits of build up on your needle. You can see like the flecks of black, and especially up here, there's a bit of black. So all you need to do, you don't have to use this. This is what I use, and it's just easy. I just use makeup removal pads. Just these. Like, I bet if you're a married man, I bet your wife's got some, or your daughter's got some, or just try it out. They're very, very cheap from your local supermarket. They're only a couple of dollars. So getting a bit of airbrush cleaner, putting a bit on your pad, and you don't want to saturate it so it's like full wet. You just want it so it's still wet, pretty damp. And what you don't want to do is pinch around your needle. You don't want to pull back, so don't start from the very top and push down, because what could happen is first one, you could bend your needle, and second, the worst one of all, you could like just not be concentrating on what you're doing and push the needle into your finger, and you don't want to be doing that either. So you just start from the back and pull forward. Always pull the needle away from you. Do that a few times. We'll see that all the paint starts to disappear off the needle. Just give it a little bit of a twist. And see, like even that, like it's pretty hard to see, like because all the paint's gotten wet and it's absorbed in there, so you can see like how the colour's changed on the pad. It's hard to see, it's just a big white out. You can see the flecks of paint on there. That also helps too. That also gives you a smoother action when you're pulling back on the trigger. Because if you pull back the trigger and it sticks, and you're wondering what it is, it's because the the needle's not moving freely within the barrel. So that's something else you got to every now and then. You know, I mean, you don't have to do it every time. You know, some people like to clean their airbrushes out every paint session, strip them all down, and like I personally think that's overkill. So what we're going to do now is, this should have had enough time, so I'll get rid of this. Put this over here. Get rid of that as well. So we're just going to strip the sticky tape off and see how we went. And hopefully it's not a fail. And we'll get run marks in everything everywhere, which I don't want. And if we did, it's just a simple matter of carefully just a touch up with the paintbrush, which is why I put the paint on very thin. Put it on thin, mist it on, it doesn't really have a chance to run into under the tape as if it was thick. So, this took away. I won't speak too soon. I'm just going to get this bit of tape off. I'm just going to be careful not to touch the stripes, even though the Tamiya paint dries pretty quick. I still want it to give it time to fully set. So there's a red stripe there. So it worked out pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm just going to strip the rest of them off. And then I reckon I'll call it quits for this session. And like I said earlier, I'll jump back on, I'll start up another one. And we'll try and finish this plane tonight. So just have a look at all these, see how it all turned out. So if I messed it up, you can all laugh at me. And I can have a laugh too. Just using the tip of the knife just to lift up that tape so I can get it. And where'd it go? This way. Another one. Actually, how did the wash turn out? That's another question. Very, very light. So I'll probably do that in tonight's session. What time is it now? It's up last year. So I reckon probably within the next. If you want to send me, just send me a. If you want to send me a message there, Roadhog. If you do want to have a hangout tonight, I wouldn't mind catching up, actually meeting you. I've seen a few of your videos. Yeah, you just want to jump on, you know, just me and you. Yeah, speak some shit for a while. Yeah, more than welcome to, buddy. Just let me know if you wanna. If you got time today. I don't know, what is it now? Sunday afternoon? No, Saturday. So what would be Saturday? Early Saturday morning over there, would it be? Or was it still Friday night over there? Not too sure. I don't know what the time difference is between Australia and I think from the United States. I think. but if he's Canadian, he'll hate me. So okay, so yeah, that's it there. So that's how the bombs turned out. I'm actually very, very happy how they turned out. So just pays to take that little bit of extra time with the masking and not rushing and not putting the paint on too thick. You get some really nice results. I mean, you wouldn't have gotten that with decals. It's just the black would have showed through the decals, and you would have had these really dark, evil-looking decals. So I think I'm going to end this session. I'm just going. Just want to say thanks for watching. Yeah, hope you did pick up a few things from watching this, and I'll see you guys on the next one. But yeah, Road Dog, if you want, yeah, just Google Plus me or something, mate, and yeah, just let me know what you want to do as well. Okay, see you later, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.